There is no video on YouTube that directly goes into what I am most interested about regarding the new GoPros for specifically car POV videos. There just isn't anyone that's done it. So that's what I wanted to do. I'm gonna go through all the different lenses. What's really curious to me is how wide all the different lenses are. Can you use the 8x7 mode and then crop in and get the same effect as Hyperview? I'm also curious about 10-bit color. So can we bring up the shadows to an interesting level? I'm also really interested in the audio. So what you're hearing right now is the raw audio straight out of the camera. Later in the video, I'll bring in a professional lapel mic and see what that sounds like. Also very, very interested in whether the stabilization, the hyper smooth, actually introduces a crop, because GoPro's reading materials say there is a minimal crop. What does that mean? Is it 5%, 10%, 20%? Because I like a really wide image for POV. I am actually recording on a mini, but for the purposes of what we're doing today, it doesn't really matter if it's the normal GoPro or the mini, it's basically the same thing. So this is what Hyperview looks like. Just a quick demonstration. How far can we see over here? How far can we see over here? That's for the width. You'll notice one thing that's quite weird about Hyperview, which is that when I'm looking straight ahead, the distortion isn't really noticeable. It looks quite natural, it looks really wide and it looks good. But if I pan, that's where you really see the distortion, is when you get that side to side head movement. So it's, if you're trying to come out of a junction, for example, or something like that, that's where you really see that distortion. So just something to keep in mind. Now we're on the move in Superview. From what I've read about this should look a lot more natural, but still be very wide. So how far can we see over here? How far can we see over here? Does it look as wide? Does it look as epic? Guess we're gonna find out when we look at the footage. But yeah, I'm gonna pan left to right. You'll see less of that distortion that you get with Hyperview. I'm gonna look in the mirror just to see potentially there's a bit more resolution, but I don't think that's the case. This is 8x7. I'll show you guys the full sensor, and now I'll show you a 16:9 crop, which is what you would generally do. The great thing about this 16:9 crop is that I can reframe it vertically as you're seeing it move now, which is really, really useful. But if I now go to the perfect framing, the framing that I like most, I'm very curious to see how wide this is. Is it as wide as the 16:9 Hyperview? Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do secret mode. What is secret mode? It's 8x9 full sensor, but then rather than cropping, we're gonna squash it. So this is the theory behind Hyperview. What Hyperview does is it compresses the full 8x7 sensor into a 16:9 frame, but it does it very intelligently, and it does it more so in the middle and less at the edges to make it look a certain way. But what if we forget about all the smart, clever stuff that you could possibly do, and we just take the 8x7 and squash it to 16:9? So that's what you're seeing now. How does that look? How wide is it? It should be equally wide as this 8x7 crop, because we're not gaining any width. So where does it come out to over here? What we're gaining is the verticality, in terms of we get more up here and we get more down here. You probably see more of this area, which is obviously really cool. So let me know which one you guys like best. And now we have a little test of the 10-bit color. So I'm recording in the natural mode right now. This is what it looks like straight out of the camera. It's pretty poppy. I wouldn't personally go to the one above this, which makes things even more saturated and crazy. I think natural looks quite good, but let's see how the 10-bit color works. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply a grade. So this is natural, and now whoosh, this is what it looks like graded. So you'll see there'll probably be a little bit more detail in these areas, in the steering wheel. There'll be a touch more sharpness. But what I want to pay attention to is if I zoom in on the steering wheel, is there more noise in the steering wheel? We'll now switch back to natural. Is there more noise in the steering wheel with natural or with my grade? I'll be very curious to find out. I'm very curious whether the hyper smooth stabilisation actually has a crop. In GoPro's reading materials, it says minimal crop. But what does that actually mean? What I'm really hoping for is that the hyper smooth stabilisation does not crop too much. I've got my head right against the headrest, and we're going to see where the image comes out to here. How far does it come out to, and how far does it come out to? And now I'm going to switch. So is the crop significant? Is it marginal, as GoPro say? There is definitely a crop. I'm not sure what percentage it is, but it's quite significant. You could see the non-hyper smooth footage was far wider than the hyper smooth footage. Now, again, for car POV, you need the stabilization. It's actually really important, because some people in my previous videos were saying that they were getting motion sick because, yes, the really wide look is epic and everything looks like it's really flying past and it's really fast, but then the downside of that is they get motion sick. I wish GoPro would do like an intermediate mode where it's not perfectly stable, but it retains the widest field of view. It doesn't exist. Nobody's doing that. Probably I'm the only person in the world that wants that. But yeah, definitely a bit of a crop for hypersmooth. So I'm now just doing a really quick audio test to see what the microphones sound like. We've got a bit of rain in the background, so I'll be curious. Can you hear my voice over it? Is the rain really distracting? Does it sound better than my previous audio, which is like a lav mic? What do you guys think? Let me know. GoPro make it really easy to be creative with camera angles. I love the fact that I could just stick the GoPro in different places and it gives you a different field of view. Very cool. One more thing. The back of the Hero 11 Mini has a heatsink and it gets exceptionally hot. So if you're looking to buy one of these two cameras, whether it's the the Hero 11 or the 11 Mini, probably get the standard Hero 11. My logic was the Mini is less wide, so when I have it on my forehead, it's going to take up less of my vision, so thinner is better. That was my logic anyway. The back of it gets exceptionally hot, so you can't have it right up against your nose and you have to move it forward a little bit. And then like if it's not perfectly tight and it's swinging and it touches your forehead, you burn yourself, because it is like silly hot. It really is very hot. From what I've read online, standard Hero 11 with the screen on the back does not get as hot at the back. So even though it's going to take up more of your face and your vision, potentially get the standard Hero 11 for POV. It gives you more headache in the edit because you've got to cut out all those times where you were touching the camera and adjusting it and moving it because it was burning your head. Not ideal. So in conclusion, what do I think about the Hero 11/Hero 11 Mini for car POV? Well, it's the best action cam at the moment. There are still some limitations with action cams. They get hot, you can't record forever. Fundamentally, the quality is phenomenal. Like, just seeing the Alcantara on the steering wheel in sunlight, it looks so good. The lens is very wide, even wider without the crop from Hypersmooth, but still very good. Hypersmooth is the lens of choice. The 8x7 mode is useful if you're a content creator that wants to make vertical video, but for me, I don't think the two cropped modes looked very good. So I will be 95% a Hypersmooth user, and then for shots like this, I'm using linear. So those would probably be the two for me. But overall, it's a really good camera. The audio quality is surprisingly good straight out of camera. So for just stuff like this, where you're just talking to the camera, I don't have to mic myself up, which is huge, so useful. Yeah, overall, it's a really good camera, and it's the best that is available on the market at the moment. I'm sure in future years there will be better action cameras, and there's some things that I wish would be better, but of all the tech that we have now, it is the best one, and the quality is phenomenal, and the lenses are really nice. And the 10-bit looks pretty good. It's not as good as like a DSLR camera or my Fuji camera, but it's still pretty good. 10-bit's a big upgrade, especially from 8-bit, which is what I was using before. You basically couldn't touch the files. You could edit it a little bit, and it just got grainy straight away. So pretty good. Yeah, 10-bit's a big upgrade. Yeah, overall it's good. Battery life is good. It's good. It's a good camera. I'm really happy with it. So I just want to say a huge shout out to all the new subscribers. This channel has been absolutely blowing up, and on a personal note, I never thought this many people would be interested in what I had to say, or the drives that I was going on, or the little education tidbits that I give out. From the bottom of my heart, thank you all so much for supporting me. Yeah, it's been a journey. I never imagined when I started making my silly little YouTube videos, going for little drives, that I would ever have a following. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you got some value out of it and you found it useful. If you're thinking about getting a Hero 11, or you make car POV videos, or you just want to know more about the camera, thank you for watching this one. Hopefully it was useful, and I would really appreciate a like, because that seems to be the #1 thing that makes videos explode, at least in my experience. Subscribe would always be great. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Thank you so much for supporting me.